Hello, how you doing? It's just gone 9 o'clock here in Portstewart in Northern Ireland. I hope you're doing well and staying safe wherever you are in the world. Um, uh, would you believe it's Friday night and I'm actually on to the final chapter of Breadboy. Yeah. So I've now read every chapter of Paperboy, and we're now after tonight. I'll have read every chapter of my second book in the my coming of age trilogy, Breadboy. So and yeah, if people are interested, I will keep. I can keep going. While for as long as we're being told to stay at home, stay safe. I could continue next week with the next installment, which is this one, all grown up. What Breadboy did at university. So if you want me to keep going, just let me know, and I'll decide over the weekend whether you want me to keep going. But anyway, I thought I'll finish tonight with the final chapter of Bread Boy, and I'll say hello to a few people. I'll stop in the middle of it and just say hello to a few people as well. So it's called Happy Days. I was worried, so I was. On my weekly bread round, I had sometimes forgot the odd Vita loaf, as I dreamt I was Han Solo, driving the Millennium Falcon past millions of stars. On dark mornings in snowstorms, I pretended the incoming snowflakes were stars I was passing at warp speed. Occasionally I emitted a wheaten loaf as I imagined playing my guitar on top of the pops with the undertones without dropping my plectrum. But on this frosty January morning, I was more distracted by my worries than my dreams. I noticed this was happening more and more often. If this was a part of being all grown up, then I didn't like it. As I paced the streets of the Upper Shankill on Saturday mornings, my mind used to be filled with movies and music and outer space and Olivia Newton-John. But now I had so much to worry about. "He's an awful worrier, this wee lad of ours," I overheard my mother say to my Auntie Doris one day over a cup of tea and a plate of gypsy creams. I had money worries. What if Leslie gets a new wee lad from the Boys Brigade Bible class to work for him cheaper? And I'll end up to have no money to save up for ABBA's Greatest Hits Volume 2. What if I fail all my GCEs and get chucked out of BRA and end up signing on the dole in Snugville Street forever? What if my father loses his job at the foundry and we end up dead poor and having to sell the Ford Escort respray? I also had health worries. What if these bloody spots never go away, no matter how much Clearasil denim and toothpaste I put on them? What if my childhood heart murmur comes back and I have a cardiac arrest and die before I even get one chance to have a go at sex? I worried about the health of my loved ones too. What if chain-smoking Hamlet cigars gives my father cancer? What if Granny's constant assertion that she's already in her coffin, only without the lid nailed on, finally comes true? Then I had my worries about the situation. What if they had got the wrong house and shot dead my father instead of Mr. Oliver? What if my mother is walking past a car at the co-op with her shopping when a bomb goes off? What if Provos make Protestant bread boys legitimate targets? Of course, I wasn't the only member of my family with worries. My father was always fretting about the foundry making him redundant, and my mother was vexed about my granda and granny, who gave her a lot to worry about, and my father and her three sons and everyone. No wonder her nerves were bad. My brothers didn't appear to worry quite as much as me. My big brother was doing dead hard A-levels to go to Queen's University, so in theory he had a lot more to worry about than me. He was going to become the first person in my whole family ever to go to university, which I thought was plenty to worry about. But he seemed more concerned about Manchester United's performance in the FA Cup final. My wee brother appeared to be too young for worries. The 11 plus was a few years away, and so all he had to be anxious about for now was the slow puncture in his space hopper and the possibility of being so busy flying down the hill on his bike with no hands that he missed Chorlton and the Wheelies on UTV. However, on this particular Saturday morning, I had one more immediate worry. This afternoon was finally the day of the announcement of the cast for Belfast Royal Academy's production of West Side Story. This could be the day when my acting talents were finally recognised. I was certain that Roger Moore once had a day like this. As a result of this all-consuming concern, I delivered my bread absent-mindedly that morning. Due to my wandering thoughts, Mrs. Piper had to run after the van, demanded her frosted cream fingers, and at first we couldn't even hear her calls over the sound of our diddly dings. Miss Adams had to remind me curtly that her sweet tooth was reserved for refined German biscuits and not vulgar Paris buns. I also forgot Naomi's can of Coke, but this did not prevent the two of us from enjoying a duet over the final part of Summer Nights when Travolta goes all Bee Gee. I was discovering so many competing priorities in my head that it occurred to me for the first time, might not even want to be a bread boy forever. I completed my chores and bade farewell to Leslie, thanking him sincerely for the bonus of a box of shattered meringue nests. As I ran into the house, I briefly noticed that Mr. Oliver's rooster was now just an overgrown hedge. I rushed my father's Ulster fry to spend extra time in the bathroom preparing for the part of Tony in West Side Story. I splashed denim on my spotty chin, noting with delight that some of my darkened facial hair was at last beginning to stiffen. A first shave had to be only weeks away. Please. Then I applied the final remnants of Dad's ancient jar of Brill cream to give my hair a hint of the fawns, as I felt this was appropriate for the male lead in a musical set in America in the 1950s. My big brother had beaten me to a request for a lift in the car as he was playing in some big rugby match at Rufford, so I took a black taxi down the Shankill and then caught a bus at the City Hall to get me up to school. And I'll tell you what happened when the announcement of West Side Story cast came. But in the meantime, I'll just say hello to a few people. Good evening, says Norma Fleming, making sure to pronounce all my names. Yes, good evening, Norma Fleming. You're dead posh, so you are. You're dead swanky, so you are. Hello, Evelyn Brown. Yes, please keep going. Loving it. Okay, that's nice to hear. Yeah, I'm thinking about continuing with All Grown Up next week. Orla Sullivan says, good man, Tony. Yes, hope you're all well there. All the Sullivans are all doing well. Hi, Francis McGrath. Yes, keep going, says Francis. Okay. Keep going, says Nigel. And yeah, Norma as well. Hi, Angela Montgomery. Angela and Keith, they say keep going as well. Okay. You're convincing me. Yeah, I'll keep going. Yeah, Marlene Williamson says the same. Janet says, love this book too. Please keep reading to us. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'll keep reading while we're staying at home. That makes sense. Have a great weekend, says Maureen McCauley. Hi, Jim Poole and Elaine Bonner. Hello, good evening, Neve. Here we go again. Yes. Was hoping you would keep going, says Mark McCauley. Yes, I will keep going. And who else is here? Hello, Laurie and Damien and Ian and Jim. Hi, Mike. Hi, Fiona. Oh, Fiona, you might like the next bit I'm going to read about West Side Story at BRA. Hi, Alan McLean. How are you? So look forward to it, says Bernadette. So yeah, yeah. And Ali, yeah. Evening from evening, Zoe and Ali. Hope you're doing well there. Hi, Kenneth and Emer and Michael. Kenneth said, distracted by Jethro Tull, have to watch the first 5 minutes. You're going highbrow. That's highbrow compared to me, Kenneth. And hello, Ivy and Mary as well. So yeah, so back to the story in the final chapter of Breadboy. When I arrived in the BRA Assembly Hall, the scene of my recent Jilted John decking, the other potential stars had already congregated, eagerly waiting to hear the exact nature of their stage musical debut. I sat down beside Thomas O'Hara and Ian Forrester, and just behind Garvin Wilson, who was sitting beside Joanne Galt and Judy Carton, as if he had a chance. Miss Barron was standing up on the stage with a clipboard in her hand containing the vital information. The dramatic tension reminded me of when the winners of the Oscars were announced, except Miss Barron was wearing a tweed maxi skirt rather than a sequined evening gown. Everyone was chatting nervously and was slightly short of breath due to the excitement of the moment. I looked around to survey the competition and had a final surge of confidence. Thomas was too small, Ian couldn't sing, and Garvin was ginger. The part of Tony was almost within my grasp. Miss Barron would say my name, and everyone would congratulate me and laugh about me getting the part of the character with my own name. And then it would all be about the rehearsals and learning lines and trying to reach the high notes at the end of Tonight, Tonight. Suddenly, the assembly hall became quiet. I had not experienced such a sudden hush in this room since the few seconds before inappropriate laughter broke out when Mr. Jackson appeared to fart while saying Amen at the end of the school prayer on Remembrance Day. The part of Maria goes to, teased Miss Barron as Thomas attempted a drum roll on the back of Garvin's chair. Kimberly Stewart. Kimberly leapt from her seat with glee as a ripple of shock passed among the assembled girls. Several of the other school choir sopranos congratulated her with unusual fixed smiles on their faces that didn't quite match the look in their eyes. Kimberly could sing and act, and I always noticed how attractive she looked when she took off her glasses for PE. But this choice was clearly a surprise to some of the sopranos who had not considered the possibility of a bespectacled leading lady. The kerfuffle ceased as Miss Barron moved on to my role. And the part of Tony goes to... I could feel my heart beating fast, but time seemed to slow down, like when the doctor got stuck in a time anomaly in the TARDIS. And the part of Tony goes to... Garvin Wilson. Silence. Cheers. Applause. Garvin looked very surprised, but eventually he stood up and took a genuinely humbled bow, holding his glasses in place as he bent. I had frozen on the spot. Miss Barron had given the part of Tony to a ginger boy with glasses who wasn't even called Tony. I didn't get it because of where I come from, I whispered to Thomas bitterly. Your man lives in a big house up the Cave Hill Road, so he does. Overhearing this comment, Joanne Galt turned round. Don't be an inverted snob now, Tony, she said. I wasn't quite sure what an inverted snob was, but Joanne was usually right, so I hit a reddener, folded my arms and shut up. The problem was I liked Garvin Wilson, so I couldn't really blame him, so I felt cross with Miss Barron instead. How could this woman be so blind to my talents? And speaking of blindness, how will Tony and Maria be able to sing There's a Place for Us convincingly to one another if Kimberly and Garvin attempt to perform without their glasses and they can't even see each other? Before I could think of any further reasons for this great travesty of dramatic casting, Miss Barron continued, and the part of Riff, the leader of the Jets, goes to Tony Macaulay. Cheers, applause. I was shocked. It was not the romantic lead, but it was not an old man either. Thomas patted me on the back enthusiastically, and Garvin turned round and shook my hand so sincerely I couldn't hate him. From the corner of my eye, I noticed Judy applauding gracefully. Ian seemed less impressed at the prospect of either Garvin or me as members of gangs of street fighters. The fight with flick knives, not friggin' handbags, he said. I quickly scanned the script to assess the size of my part. I was delighted to discover that Riff was very cool, like the Fawns in Happy Days, and was the lead singer in 2 of the songs in the musical. This was not a complete disaster. It seemed that I would be Han Solo to Garvin Wilson's Luke Skywalker. Perhaps the fact that Riff was a darker character than Tony, the romantic lead, was a sign that Miss Barron had finally recognised the hidden depths I could bring to the stage. Maybe this was a recognition that I too could portray complex characters with a talent equal to that of Roger Moore. This scenario was not what I had been dreaming of, but it was better than nothing. As the announcement continued, Thomas and Joanne did not get speaking parts, but they seemed happy enough. Ian got the part of the leader of the Sharks and took great pleasure in pointing out that he would be stabbing me to death at the end of Act 1 in every performance. As a curtain call to the afternoon, Miss Barron did a great act herself with a pep talk, pretending that every person was equally important in this production, even the ones with no lines. Aye, right, dead on, I thought. But then something truly unbelievable happened. Just as I was leaving the assembly hall, Joanne Galt stopped me at the door, offered me an opal fruit, and whispered, "Judy says you'll be brilliant as the leader of the Jets, so you will." I was more than flattered. The fact that Judy regarded me as brilliant in any way was a revelation. I was only just coming to terms with this news when Joanne continued with further sweet words. "Judy says if you asked her to see you, she wouldn't say no, so she wouldn't." Silence. I dropped my script. This was by far the biggest shock of the day. This was the biggest surprise of the year. In an instant, the BRA Assembly Hall was transformed from a dull and formal space for grammar school education in Belfast into the cool and colourful schoolyard in Greece. I was John Travolta, and one of Olivia Newton-John's girlfriends had just approached me with a message from Sandy to say, "I want." For a few seconds, I lost confidence. "Are you spoofing, wee girl?" I asked Joanne sincerely. "Why's up, wee lad?" she replied. "Sure, she's always liked you, even when you're acting aged." "But sure, I don't play rugby, and I'm from up the Shankill," I protested. "Sure, her granddad's from up there. Judy thinks you're lovely in your bomber jacket and all." The beauty of these words captivated me, but I was unsure as to my next move. I noticed that Judy and several other girls were waiting behind at the back of the assembly hall, looking in our direction, whispering and giggling. "Well, how do I ask her out?" I asked Joanne. "I'll ask her for you," said Joanne. "Will you?" "Yes, Tony, I know the answer anyway." "Okay, will you ask her to see me?" Joanne did not hang around. She conveyed the request to Judy faster than a Jedi Knight drawing his lightsaber. Within seconds, she was back beside me, while a blushing Judy looked on. "She says yes." I couldn't believe it. I had got myself a real live girlfriend. Not a Millie or a Boot, but the loveliest girl in the whole school. This was better than Debbie Harry on my bedroom wall and all those ladies in the lingerie section of the Great Universal Club book. My dream had come true. Judy Carton had consented to be my own personal Wonder Woman. "Well, are you not going over to talk to her?" Joanne asked, gently pushing me in Judy's direction. As I approached Judy, the other giggling girls cleared from around her. As I walked between them, I felt like Charlton Heston in the Bible, striding to victory and parting the Red Sea. What should I say? What should be my first words to my new girl? Should I just thank her for giving me a go? Should I promise to reward her with gifts of bread and pastries from the Ormo mini shop? Should I take her to the Scandia restaurant behind the City Hall for a chicken Maryland and a strawberry pavlova? As I arrived in Judy's warm presence, I took a deep breath and inhaled her lovely Charlie perfume. And then the words just came to me. "Do you want to come with me to the Westie Disco tonight?" Judy did not speak. She simply took me by the hand, smiled, and nodded. We walked together out of the school grounds, holding hands for the very first time. I was so taken by the warmth and softness of her hand, I almost tripped over the British soldier crouching at the school gate, taking aim at something. Behind us, I could hear Joanne and the girls giggling, and Thomas O'Hara and Garvin Wilson joining in a chorus of "Tony loves Judy, Tony loves Judy." The day was made perfect when the school minibus arrived back from rugger practice. As all the hateful forwards and hookers disembarked, I could see the look of shocked admiration on my big brother's face when he noticed his wee brother hand in hand with Judy Carleton. He turned round to Timothy Longsley, who was behind him on the bus, pointed at me, laughed, and shouted, "Ha ha ha! Look at that, Longsley, you so snobby sickener. She'd rather have a big fruit than you." The wholeheartedness of my big brother's loyalty only added to my elation. An unforgettable Westie disco was to complete this special day. Judy and I wore matching ocean blue Peter Storm anoraks, and she held me close under her transparent Snoopy umbrella as we queued outside in the rain. I could hear ABBA singing Chiquitita on the loudspeakers inside. Harry Maxwell, an expert on all matters of art and culture, explained to the whole queue that Chiquitita was Spanish for wee. I looked Judy up and down dismissively and passed over her when she was sharing her spangles with the rest of the queue. I did not react to this snub, as I understood how heartbreaking it must be for Irene not to be in Judy's shoes. When we finally reached the front door of the Nissen hut, Uncle Henry smiled and warmly waved us through without asking either of us to blow into the breathalyzer. This just proved that I was good living and Judy was no Millie. He asked Titch McCracken to breathe into the breathalyzer twice. When the red light came on, Titch argued successfully that this was because the doctor had put him on a prescription of strong cough medicine, the wee chancer. When we got inside the Nissen hut, the Westie disco was heaving with hundreds of teenagers as usual. This was the perfect venue to show off my lovely new girlfriend. Auntie Emma shook Judy's hand and said she was a lovely wee girl, so she was. Titch asked me sensitively if Judy was a good kisser. Philip Ferris pretended he wasn't interested in her, but I noticed his eyes kept returning to Judy's breast magnets. My mother bought Judy a Ripple bar from the tuck shop, and my father played a request for Heart of Glass by Blondie, just for the young lovers, Tony and Judy. Heather Mateer gave Judy a warm welcome by taking her to the girls' toilets for chewing gum and a chat. I hope the girls' bogs weren't as smelly as the boys' bogs, in case it put Judy off ever coming back. The music was brilliant that night. After Blondie, my DJ Da put on the Boomtown Rats, and then Meatloaf, who was a big fat fella my big brother liked, who sang about bats and hell. Next, my father introduced a brand new disco single by a black lady from America called Gloria Gaynor. "You'll like this," hissed my big brother on hearing the gay syllable of Gloria's surname. This was in spite of the fact that I was actually sitting beside him with my new girlfriend, trying to work out the best time to ask my father to stick on Hopelessly Devoted to You so I could have a first slow dance and hopefully get a decent snog with Judy. As the disco song began, suddenly, Irene Maxwell appeared from the girls' toilets wearing a pair of roller skates. "First I was afraid, I was petrified," began Gloria. I was quite petrified myself at the sight of Irene. "Roller discos is the next big thing," she announced to the crowds of genuinely impressed teenagers. "It says so in Jackie." Irene did her very best to dance on roller skates to I Will Survive, but she lost her balance when her half-filled sequined boob tube began to slip and she tried to fix herself. Poor Irene ended up veering off course and crashing into Heather Mateer, who was in the far corner of the Nissen hut, snogging a flute player in blue flares from the Ballysullen Road. However, Irene did survive and dragged Heather with her onto the dance floor. Eventually, all of us, apart from a disgusted-looking Philip Ferris, of course, were up on the sticky chewing gum surface of the Westie disco dance floor, bopping. My wee brother even joined in, and I knew right away he wanted to have a go on Irene's roller skates. Irene started to dance very close to Titch, and I could tell she had decided to seduce him in her boob tube now that I was unavailable. I was more concerned that Titch was wearing so many paramilitary badges. I hope he wasn't going to get involved or he would end up in prison or dead. "I will survive," sang Gloria. Sammy Reeves joined us in his off-white Travolta suit and did the Saturday Night Fever pointy dance, even though he had another black eye. As long as I know how to love, I know I'll stay alive. Judy did not let go of my hand the whole time, even though it was a fast dance. I've got all my life to live. I've got all my love to give. I looked around. I looked around at all my friends and family. My father stood proudly at the turntables with the satisfied smile he wore when he realised he had discovered the latest dance floor filler. My mother was peeking in from the tuck shop, enjoying the happiness her husband had produced by the push of a button. Auntie Emma joined in the dance with my wee brother, and Uncle Henry chatted at the door with Leslie, who had called in to update him about the latest security situation. Even from a distance, I could read Leslie saying, "Come here till I tell you." We all sang along with the chorus. I will survive as long as I know how to love. I know I'll stay alive. I wanted all of us to survive. I didn't want anyone to join the paramilitaries or start drinking too much or get cancer. I didn't want anyone to have bad nerves or get shot in the chest at their front door or get blown to pieces at the shops. I wanted us all to stay alive forever. I didn't know if I could stay in Belfast much longer. I couldn't decide if I should stay or if I should go. I loved my city, but I hated this war. I wanted to survive. The song seemed to say what all of us were feeling on a cold, wet Saturday night in Belfast in 1979. It was a wonderful end to an unforgettable, happy day. So what record did my father put on next to add to this feeling of hope and elation? Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick by Ian Dury and the Blockheads. We all sat down, except for my big brother, and Philip Ferris joined him on the dance floor for a particularly masculine pogo as Ian Dury sang, "Hit me, hit me, hit me." Eventually, after some encouragement from Heather Mateer, my father changed the atmosphere completely, and he faded in the familiar introduction of "How Deep Is Your Love?" "Do you want to dance, Judy?" I asked my girl. Judy smiled and nodded, and so began our first slow dance. I decided not to rush into an immediate snog to show Judy how much I respected her. I just held her close and we danced cheek to cheek as the Bee Gees sang, "'Cause we're living in a world of fools, breaking us down when they all should let us be." I wanted Judy to be my girl forever. As we danced as one across the sticky chewing gum on the floor, I was happier than I had ever been. I did not know what lay ahead. I could not predict the future, or travel through time and space in a blue police telephone box that was bigger on the inside than the outside. I had no idea what would happen after my days as a bread boy in the last Ormo mini shop in the whole wide world. I didn't even know whether bread would be replaced with wee vitamin pills by the year 2000. But on this day, on this happy day, I was certain of one thing. I would survive, so I would. And there you are. That is the end of Breadboy. Thanks for being on the journey with me all the way. I'll just say hello to a few people just before I go. Hi, Ivy Rosenstone. Hello, Susan. Better late than ever. Good to have you. Oh, you had a killer's live clash. Bringing back memories, Fiona. Oh, yes, I'm sure. Enjoyed every chapter of Paperboy and Breadboy. Thank you, says Michael McKinley. That's very kind of you, Michael. Hi, hello, Linda. Hello, Anne Kirk. Evening, Tony. Hope you continue to read to us, as I think everyone would miss it. Yes, I will. I'm going to continue with All Growed Up next week. Every weekday evening at 9 o'clock. I'll keep going. It's quite hard to hold things up properly when you're on Facebook Live to get it the right way around. So thanks everyone for watching. Susan says she loved Blondie. Davy Calder, we were hoping you would continue. I see there's 20 chapters and All Grown Up. Well, I think there's about 19, yeah. So yeah, I'll keep going. Hello, Amy and Norma. Good evening, Norma. Evelyn Brown says, thank you, Tony. Have a great weekend. Can't wait till Monday. Enjoyed, said Sadie Hannah. Thank you. Fantastic. Thanks, especially for the singing. Yeah, there, you didn't expect me to do Gloria Gaynor and the Bee Gees in one go. Orla, thank you, Marlene. That's very kind. Glad you enjoyed the chapter. Ali and Susan, Nigel, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Hi, David. David Murs. Hello, Kenneth. Wonderful read. Looking forward to next week. So glad you're carrying on, says Norma. Great. Thanks, Tony. Would love All Grown Up. Yeah, it sort of takes us into the early 1980s. As you can see on the cover, it's got, I've got my suede Duran Duran boots, my combat trousers, and my leg warmers, and my Feed the World t-shirt, and my Duran Duran scarf. So you remember that era, 1982? Thanks, says Jeremy. Really enjoyed it. Thank you, Tony, says Angelo. I've enjoyed Paperboy and Breadboy. Look forward to all grown up. Thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. Stay safe and stay well while you're at home. And I'll be back on Monday night with chapter 1 of All Grown Up. And until then, bye and stay positive.